and welcome everyone. My name is Slegaitis-Smith, and this is a channel where we like to talk about writing, learning, and creating. If you are brand new, welcome you. If you're old hat, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about some goal setting because it is the end of 2020 and we're looking into the new year of 2021. And as I've discussed previously, it is important to have accountability. I even made a whole video about it, link in the cards. But I am going to be making myself accountable to you all by letting you know what my goals are for the coming year, and you can also hold yourself accountable with me and our community by putting your goals for 2020 into the comment section below. First of all, I want to start out by saying thank you to everybody who participated in Thankmas. We didn't quite reach our goal, but that by no means that your contribution didn't count. It really did. We're such a small family here, and the fact that we were able to raise money to help out this cause that is so much bigger than just us it blesses my heart so much. So thank you, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, to everybody who was willing to participate in Thankmas. It means so much to me, and it means so much to the people who you were able to help by participating in Thankmas. And it helps us to end this year on a positive note so that we can be more hopeful and ambitious when we're setting our goals for 2021. So let's start setting some goals about how we're going to tackle things. I broke down my list into a bunch of different categories. One, to help you think about what goals you might want to set for yourself in 2021. And also so that if you're only interested in hearing about particular goals, you can go into the description and there will be some timestamps down there so that you can go to the specific area that you're interested in hearing about. I'm going to start right here with my reading goals for 2021. My reading goals last year were very numerically based. I wanted to read 20 books in 2020 because it sounded right, 20. But honestly, that was a little overambitious of me because I don't actually usually do a ton of reading, particularly once the school year starts. It just gets a lot more hectic and crazy. So trying to do 20 books in 12 months, it's a little bit much for me, especially because of the fact that everything was very fiction oriented and in the fantasy genre, and those are not short books, friends. They're good books, but they're not short. So I didn't quite make that goal. I got to about 17. Maybe I can round out to 18 before this year is out. We'll have to see how that goes. But next year, I want to be a little bit more realistic with my reading goal than just giving myself a number. So my goal for next year with reading is to read one book about craft for every book about fiction. And the reason why is you need both in order to develop and continue to round yourself out as a writer. You need to read books on writing craft because even if you feel like you're really confident in an area, it can give you a new fresh take, new skills to practice, new skills to try. So I really want to dig into books that are helping me to develop many different areas of the craft of writing. And then I also want to continue working on reading my fiction books because one, they're enjoyable, and two, everyone talks about how you need to be a good reader to be a good writer. I think I said rudder. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We're cool here. So with that fiction reading, I am particularly focusing in and honing in on books that are in the areas that I'm looking to get published in, because that's going to let me know what tropes are currently in vogue, I guess. They're in style. That might be a more normal term to use than in vogue. It will let me know what sort of writing voice people are really picking up on right now, because with the fact that I have such an English literature background, my writing voice tends to sound a little bit more old-fashioned. So I'm trying to update some of the way that I write so that I don't sound as Tolkien-y, because Tolkien did great, but I don't know how great he would do nowadays. So that's what I'm looking at there. I'm trying to find what people are into, and I'm trying to learn from these writers the things that they were doing really well, different adaptations they have to tropes and style in writing. So both are really on the learning experience side, but both will be enjoyable and both will help me become a better writer. So that is my reading goal for 2021. The next goal category is writing. That one makes a lot of sense because I am trying to be a writer here. I'm trying to continue to prove myself. I'm trying to get published. And this is also the thing that got derailed most by all the craziness in 2020. My main goal for 2020 was to focus on my writing and to hopefully get to the point of actually having a published work by the end of this year. But that got derailed week 1 when I got displaced from my home from a fire. So I did make progress in the writing realms that I was trying to make progress in, but not anywhere near as much as I wanted to. So one thing that I'm doing to try to help myself in this area is I am going to give myself more clear and attainable goals than just have a year focused on writing, which is kind of where I was at the beginning of 2020. So I have 2 novels that I have finished, and we're in various forms of editing stages. I'm down to being in my last round of edits for both of those novels. So my more concrete goals for writing is I'm going to finish both of those final rounds of edits for those novels. And then I had for a long time this year flip-flopped back and forth between traditional publishing and independent publishing because there's so many pros and cons to both. It's really hard to make a decision, but thanks to a lot of author tubers and doing my own personal research, I've decided that at this time, the best option for the novel that I'm trying to use as my debut novel is going to be the traditional publishing route. So I am going to be starting to work on querying this coming year to try to get out there, find an agent, and work on getting published, because that takes a lot of time. You're not going to get responses right away, even if you write gold. So finishing those rounds of edits on those 2 novels, starting the querying process for the other one, doing final polishing bits for the one that is not going to be the debut, but coming up close to the debut, and then continuing to work on the publishing side for that one. And then I also just have another novel that I just finished, and so I'm going to be starting my round 1 edits of that novel. So a lot of editing work in this coming year as far as my writing goals are concerned, and I'm also going to be sifting that into the YouTube goals that I have, which I'll be talking about in a minute. So writing goals, finish final rounds of edits for the 2 finished novels, get the querying and publishing ball rolling for those 2 novels, and get round 1 through 3 of my editing process done on the novel that I just finished. I have so many YouTube goals for this year coming up. Obviously, this has been the first year of this YouTube channel, so we're still young, we're still new, we're still getting in there. So my very first YouTube goal is that I want to do a little bit of a rebranding work for our channel, because we're still young, we're still small, and so we still have room to play around a little bit with aesthetic that we want to go with. Also, considering no one knows who I am that much yet, except for you guys who are faithful to come here and visit me, I'm thinking about maybe changing or adding on something in front of my name to the YouTube channel. That way newcomers have a little bit more idea of what we're about here, because my name is just ambiguous. It's just a name until you actually come and get to know me. So I'm thinking about doing that. If you want to add in some suggestions as far as that is concerned, you can feel free to leave that in the comment section along with your goals for 2021. So doing a little bit of rebranding is on the docket. I also have quite a few planned videos that we're going to be doing. There are a couple series that I want to work on. The one that I was referencing in regards to writing is that with the fact that I'm into the fresh round one edits for one of my novels, I was thinking it would probably be a great time to do an editing series where I'm showing you a bunch of different editing techniques that you can use on your work and different processes of editing, going through the different levels of editing, because you have your self-editing, you have line editing, you have proofreading, you have going for getting professional help with the editing. So with all of that, I thought that it would be a great opportunity to do an editing series where you all can join me on the journey and learn new techniques, and maybe it will help you out a lot in your editing process, because that can be a bear to tackle. So I have that series planned. I have a few long form videos that I want to work on as well, linked to other goals that I have, where it would end up being one video when all is said and done, but it would take months and months to actually create the video. For instance, I'll talk about it once I get to my personal goals section, but one of my goals is to work on learning the fundamentals of conversational levels of language in a couple different languages. And so I would like to do videos about learning those languages, because it delves into learning aspects, learning techniques, as well as language learning, which fits well with the learning side of our channel and also might be helpful for other people who are trying to learn languages or just learn new skills on their own as well. So a couple more long form videos like that, as well as other videos pertaining to craft. And also, I've been thinking about trying to get into some video game analysis more, because I've had quite a few of you interacting with me talking about specifically the writing craft in regards to video games, specific characters in video games, how plot elements show up in video games, and frankly, I love that topic. And so because of the fact that there seems like there's some interest from our community on that, and it's something that I love and would really like to do, I figured that that would be a great thing to get into as well, where we do more in-depth analysis of how writing is used in video games, regardless of different types of video games you can have, because you have story-driven video games, you have action-driven video games, and so applying both writing to video games specifically, but then also what we can learn for novel writing and other forms of writing from video games, because there's always a little bit of something you can pick up from another area. I'm totally down for that. So those are my YouTube goals. A little bit of rebranding, getting into some long form videos that will take a little while to make, doing that editing series, and then starting to do some more analysis in video games and writing and how it can be applied to different areas of writing other than just video games. My next goal area is teaching. So for those of you who are frequenters of the channel, you already know that I am a teacher. That is my job. And so I believe that it is important that you should also have goals for whatever your vocation is when it comes to improving yourself and getting better, because we should all be seeking to improve ourselves and get better. And I'm going to warn you ahead of time that this might sound like a little bit of a downer. So if it starts making you feel down, just skip right on by it. But I also feel that what I'm saying is going to be important for more than just me as far as this goal is concerned. I have two basic goals when it comes to teaching in this coming year, and both are related to each other. And the first one is self-acceptance. It is a very common thing among teachers and among other professions as well, that it never feels like you're doing enough, and then that is just so amplified this year in particular with all the craziness that is going along with what it means to be a teacher this year. So I need to work on learning to accept that I am doing enough, which is something that is so hard to do, because it always feels like you can be doing more, you can be doing better, you can be learning this new thing, you can be trying this thing. There's so many demands being put on us that we're being told, oh, you now have to do all of this on top of all of that other stuff that you're trying to do. That is really hard, and that is not something that is unique to teaching. That's happening everywhere. But I've personally been really struggling with accepting the fact that I am doing the best that I can, because I'm always trying to learn and grow and improve and become a better teacher for my kids. Everybody who feels this way is doing it out of love for their students, but it's not good at the same time. We need to find better ways to love our kids than just being bullies to ourselves, or at least that's what I've been to myself. I've kind of been my own bully. And it's an area where I've felt kind of hypocritical, particularly this last year, because I'm constantly telling my students to be positive towards themselves, to let themselves acknowledge where they're being successful, that when they are their own bully, that is the worst kind, because you can't get away from yourself. And yet I'm constantly at war with myself in my own mind over these things, and where, oh goodness, it's hard. Where it never feels like I'm doing enough, especially with the extra things that I have to do. But I need to change my mindset as far as that is concerned, because I'm just gonna wear myself down to the point where I'm not able to be my best because of worrying about not being able to be my best. So I need to learn how to accept myself and accept the work that I'm doing as being the best that I can, while still striving to improve, so that I can actually be in a good place mentally to actually be my best for my students. And that is 100% my goal. Bottom line is to help my students to become better, to live better lives, to really get an understanding of the things that they need to learn, not because they need to pass a test, but because it will help them later in life. And that starts by actually practicing what I preach and learning how to use kind words towards myself and towards the work that I am doing, so that one, I am walking out what I'm telling my kids to do, and two, so that I can continue to be the best teacher I possibly can for them. And that leads me into my second goal for teaching, which is to do good work without doing overwork. Because teaching and other professions as well, it's very often hard to stay within your contractual time to get all the work done that you need to do, especially right now. But there is this kind of toxic standard where you need to do all this extra time, all this extra effort. And that's one of the reasons why so many things that I try to do just die when the school year starts, because I just don't have time to do anything except for teaching when I'm doing all this overworking. And I'm talking about like working an extra, like my contractual time ends at 3:45, but I'll be working until 7 or 8 at night on school stuff still. And so that is a great way to burn yourself out so that you can't do your best. You're trying to do your best, that's why you're doing the overworking time, but that's not going to actually end up being the best in the long run. So I don't plan on sticking to contractual time, because it's not enough to get done what I need to do for myself, for my students, and for the current regulations and states of affairs that we're in. But at least getting done by like 5 o'clock when my day starts at 8 would be beneficial, so that I can still do the other things that I need to do. Because I've already talked about like my YouTube goals and my writing goals, and I have other goals that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And if I can't do anything except for teaching, one, my mental health will decline. I've experienced that really a lot lately. My physical health will decline, also have experienced that a lot lately. And I will eventually have a loss in my teaching, where I won't be as good as a teacher because of all the different stress and strain and having no way to release or cope with that. So those are my 2 goals for teaching. Learn some self-acceptance and do good work without doing too much overwork. The last area we're going to talk about is personal goals. And technically all of these are personal goals, like all the categories, but this one is particularly dedicated to the areas of my life that I've kind of let die over the school year, because of the fact that I've just been pouring everything that I have into school. And where my students definitely need me, there's other areas of my life that need me too. And I need to do a better job of balancing those things so that I can be a healthy human being as well as a healthy teacher, so that I can actually do the best that I can for my kids. And by kids, I mean students. It's weird, teacher lingo. I love my students, okay? So the first area that I need to do better in is balancing time for family. Where my family is concerned, I have not spent as much time with my family as I would like to, especially since the school year has started, and especially with restrictions that have come up because of the situations that we're in. So I want to find ways, even digital ways, to be more in communication, more in touch, and to really stay close to my family better than I have been recently. I also have goals for music, where at the beginning of the year, I had started learning violin, and then promptly did nothing with it because the school year started and I was barely surviving, so I cut it out. But I really was enjoying learning the violin, and I do actually want to continue to learn the violin, so I need to build in time to practice and continue to grow in that area, and maybe embarrass myself by putting those practice sessions on YouTube so that you can learn along with me. I have not made a decision towards that because I'm very not confident in my musical capabilities. The next area I want to talk about is language learning. So I'm an ESL teacher, and because of that, I have students with many, many different languages in my classroom. And from the time that I started teaching, I keep wanting to learn the languages of my students, because it just, to me, one, it shows that I have a love for them and for their families in order to take the effort to learn this language. Two, it really aids in communication, as far as you can't always rely on a translator being there, because there's so much that goes into being able to get a translator, but a lot of my kids' parents don't speak English at all. So it really kind of breaks my heart that I can't communicate with them as well as I would like to, and I can do something about that by learning their languages. So I'm going to start working on tackling that, which is kind of hard because there is so many different languages to learn, and I don't know what resources are available as far as all of those are concerned. I do have some plans lined up for what I'm going to do first, but this is one of those long-term series that I was talking about, where I want to kind of track my learning progress of the languages. So I'll get into it more at that point. Then another area that I want to work on is my art. I do really enjoy art. I have done various things with art, from drawing to bookbinding to painting to sketching, a lot of different things, but it's another thing that I've let fall by the wayside, and something that I've always wanted to do was be able to like draw my own character art for my books. Just because it would be fun to do, and it would really show like what the character looks like in my mind, but I really need to improve those skills if I'm actually going to do that. So I want to work on that. And then also in the exercise sector, everybody else's least favorite sector, and another thing that I let fall completely by the wayside when school year started this year, and something that I really want to get back into, because I just feel so much better physically and mentally when I'm doing the exercises that I do. I do a lot of cardio and I do a lot of lifting, and I haven't done any of that. And so now I'm not happy with where I am exercise-wise. I know that I will feel better and more healthy if I can get back into it. Also, I miss my muscles. I used to have defined muscles, and now it's just thickness. So I would really like to get back into that for mental, physical health reasons, and just because it's also, well, it's good for you. It's straight up good for you to exercise, even if it's not always fun, but it is kind of fun for me sometimes. It's weird. I'm kind of like this mix of like athlete but lazy at the same time, where it's like, no, I don't want to go work out, but then when I'm working out, it's like the best time ever and I love it. So it's weird. I got to work on my mindset as far as that is concerned, and I also need to make sure that I have it built into my schedule so that I can actually do it. So if you're also interested in like learning about like exercise stuff that I'm trying to do, you can leave that in the comment section too. One of the bright sides to the fact that our channel is so young and so new is that we can change and adapt this depending on whatever we want to do. And so writing will always be a key cornerstone for this channel because that is what I'm mostly about, but I'm willing to go into areas that you guys are interested in, and that's actually what the whole learning section of this channel is about, and that's why it hasn't had so many videos yet, because if you're interested in learning something, I am a geek enough to want to learn it with you. Like, I am a big geek. I very much fall into the geek categories of like, okay, you can ask me anything about Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, fictional languages, things like that, and I'm just really weirdly attached to learning. Maybe not so weird considering I became a teacher, and one of the reasons why I became a teacher is because then I could be just learning for the rest of my life. I don't always like learning every single subject, but I love the process of learning and trying new methods of learning and learning new things, even if I'll never use it again. Maybe I'm weird, but I frankly love it. So if there's something that you really want to learn and you don't know how to start tackling it, let me know. I will learn it with you in this community here. It'll be great. So that is my personal goals. It's about time to wrap this video up. We've already gone a lot longer than I planned. Well, sort of longer. I had all the topics planned, just didn't want it to be a super long video, and I think that's where it's turning out to be. But this video is so important to me to make because, one, it is helping me to be accountable to unknown numbers of people on the internet, but also I'm hoping that it will help to encourage you to set your own goals, to also make yourself accountable, because one of the reasons why New Year's resolutions often fail for people is because of the fact that they don't hold themselves accountable to anyone. They keep their ideas up here and it never goes out there. So if you would like to stay accountable for your goals, throw them down in the comment section so that we can all work together as a community. Because of the fact that I'm going to be working on some rebranding ideas for the channel, and I already have plans for new segments to do with the channel, if there are things that you're specifically interested in learning or doing with this community here, leave that in the comment section below too. I really want this place to be a place where we can communicate together, learn together, grow together, fellowship together. And so because of that, I am going to continuously ask you what you want to learn, what you want to do, because without communication, what's even the point of doing this? So I really sincerely want you to be successful in the things that you want to do. So leave those in the comment section so that you can be accountable, even to unknown strangers on the internet, about your goals so that you can actually achieve them. And maybe that's coming from where my heart as a teacher and where I want my students to be successful. You're not my students, well, some of you are, but in general, not my students, but I still want to see you become successful, whoever you are, wherever you are, with what you want to do. So if I can help you in any way, that is what I'm here for. And that's what I'm hoping to stay here for. This is going to wrap us up. This will be our last video for 2020. So I hope you have a great one until the next one, and I will see you in 2021.